Welcome to Band Scamps, an in-depth look at albums and releases by West Michigan artists. Hosted by Dan Fisher and Julio Gomez. This week on Band Scamps, Dan and Julio review
Korea by Sumvivus and Dynamics by KJ and the Good Time Family Band.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to another very special episode of Band Scamps. We're in the double digits, baby. This is episode 10.
Is that what makes it special? I was going to ask you.
Yes, that's
we
what makes it special.
We are in the double digits, 10. That is special.
We're in 10. That is, yeah, I knew we'd get here, but at the same time, I didn't know.
Yeah, I definitely knew it was a possibility we might not get this far. I'm kind of proud of ourselves for doing it.
Me too,
this
man.
Far. We did it. We stuck with it.
It's hard. It's kind of hard to get stuff, keep on going here. So when you can't really promote it the way that you're used to promoting things.
Yeah, this has been brand new, but we're getting our pod legs a little bit.
Yeah,
we're out on the internet. We're getting feelers out. We're getting more and more submissions every day. It seems like.
Yeah, that's great.
And so, listeners, if you're a artist, singer, rapper, I'd love to get some more hip hop reviews, electronic music reviews, anything like that. We have some more. We do have some synthy stuff coming up, but send your submissions to bandscamps@gmail.com.
That's right. And if you have a small business or product or any kind of message you want to advertise on the podcast, we have crazy cheap rates.
Yeah, we're gonna do rates that are so affordable. It's gonna be on a per episode basis. You can basically sponsor the episode. We do have some hosting requirements, and that does cost money, unfortunately. So any way you can help will just be more and more of this and more exciting music content for you to come.
We use the money to upgrade gear, maybe hire personnel in the future. Who knows? Yeah,
sky's the limit. We're getting great response. I think we might be past 1,000 downloads. I meant to check. I did not check, but probably by the time this episode airs, we'll be over 1,000. And we want to thank all of our listeners, all the fans, all the scamps, all the bands, everybody.
Yes.
And we'd love to advertise for you. It's cheap. We're just putting it out there as a way to subsidize some of our personal costs that are going into making this podcast, because we really do want to keep making this podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to Tom Hunt for, again, the intro music. Shout out to creative consultant Cassie Houghton for the intro and future outro of this episode. Again, yeah, shout out to all the fan scamps out there. Appreciate you.
We really do. It's been a hit. It's been a little bit of a hit in our minds, and that is motivating to us. And it motivates us to kind of go even deeper. And we're going to go deep on this episode, I think, especially.
So in the celebrating, moving forward with episode 10, another reason why this episode is very special is because both releases are basically brand new. By the time you hear this, they'll probably be, like a month old. But they're both 2021 releases, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, we've been going kind of in order. So they got their album in. We had one as a preview. This one album is not out yet, but I'd love for you to review it when it does. And so we slotted this in, and they were one of our earliest submissions, and we're going to get to them in just a moment. And then the second album was one that kind of, I think, too, they submitted with plans to kind of help use the show as a way to promote the album. And so we are going to do that best our can. The two new releases.
Yeah, and but if you do have 2020 releases, please do not hesitate to submit them.
Yeah, and I might even open it up. If you have something older within the last few years, 3 years or something, maybe we'll do a shorter episode or some recaps of like oldies but goodies, ?
Yeah, the Band Scamps oldie.
Are the oldies goodies? Let's find out with Band Scamps. And maybe we'll do some more exclusive content. I'm fully vaxxed.
Yeah, baby.
I'm fully vaxxed, and by the time that you will be hearing this, I think I'll be safe to hang. So maybe in a couple weeks after that, we can do some in-person stuff, but that's going to open up the floor to a lot of really cool content that we can have you be a part of too. I don't know.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Sky's the limit.
I get my second shots on Saturday, so in 2 days.
This episode comes out on 420.
Yes, thank you.
This is the 420 episode.
Oh,
okay. I don't know how allegiant these artists are to the number 420, but we're going to find out. But this will be the 420 episode, because this is going to be coming out on Tuesday, 420. Hello, listener. This is Julio here to interject real quick as I'm editing. This is not going to be released on 420. Obviously, that was last week. It's going to be released on April 27th. So if you're listening, you didn't miss anything. we're just way off in our pre-recording math here, and we just sound so excited about it, and I don't want to break it to us. So from here on out, I'm just going to leave it how it was. I thought about taking it out, but I think it's funnier if we think this is going to be on 420 and we were wrong. Let's get back to the show.
Excellent. Yeah,
which is my safe date. So actually, yeah, listener, I'm actually safe to get hugs and kisses from anybody that I choose to if I weren't so paranoid about doing such a thing.
That's so wild. I love it.
Yeah. I'd love to. I don't know if I'm going to, though.
Probably not.
It scared me straight.
Yeah. I'm from what I understand too, you're not immune. It just doesn't it just doesn't kill you.
No, yeah, exactly. You just aren't going to die randomly from it.
Yeah.
So, good news over there.
Yeah. A lot of good things in the horizon. So, speaking of horizons, let's talk about our first record here. First record we have is by an artist named Sumvivus. The album is called Kriya, and it came out April 3rd of this year.
And this record is available on both Bandcamp and Spotify. And just a reminder to the listeners, and maybe those that don't know, we are no longer playing any types of music clips really in these episodes, except for stuff that we kind of want to listen to ourselves as we tape. So I encourage you to listen to this release in its full before you proceed. All right, welcome back to the show.
Yes, and actually, thank you for everyone who has been supporting our creative decision. It's just nice to know that some of the fans are on the same page as us.
Definitely. And I kind of feel validated. And so I think I'm just going to listen to them. Any audio that leaks from our headphones that we're listening to the song, that's fine. But otherwise, please fully appreciate this album. And then come see what we think after that.
Or see what we think and then appreciate it.
And then appreciate it even for, I don't care. Yeah. Enjoy it however you want. But I think I recommend you listen to the record first. Yeah. Right away, first impressions. This cover art's really cool.
This cover art is so I'm so just drawn to it.
Yeah, it's really nice. Do you know who did it? Do we have
I have
on that?
No idea. Nothing in the liner notes.
Okay. Really good. Really good. Kind of a trippy foreground design, kind of paisley-ish, border around everything. And this really cool, it's like a sun.
Yeah, it's like a blistering sun above a meadow or a field.
Sure. So right away, I kind of get the first impression this might be something maybe on the hippie side of things.
Absolutely. I get heavy hippie vibes.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. There's actually a lot of bands that I like that are kind of in that realm. But I think people maybe with this podcast are going to assume that we don't necessarily like that kind of music per se. But right away, that's kind of the vibe that I get from just the art, Just the art, even the name. I wasn't really sure what to expect, although I did get in the submission, there was some notes about what kind of release this was, and we'll get to that in a moment.
I was also like you. I didn't really know what to expect, but I did get the heavy hippie vibes, and I was a little hesitant, but I did have some information from the submission email that kind of made me more excited about it than I initially thought I was going to be.
Mm-hmm. So let's go drive right in. Track 1 is called What Do You Want? And right off the bat, there's a lot of vocals, vocal harmony, kind of really close range singing in a varied of singing voices. And then it becomes clear there's no instruments at all on this record. It's all voices.
Yeah, it's an a cappella record.
And this does not change the whole album. This is how the album's going to remain.
First impression, it's a beautiful voice.
Definitely. Really, really cool singing.
A lot of different type of singing.
Mm-hmm. I was listening. How did you listen to this at first? I was on my phone.
I was listening on my phone with headphones.
Okay. So right away I wrote, this is sort of cool. Good singing. I need to check this out on headphones or something, or a speaker to check out the recording quality. And I did do that eventually, but I spent the first quarter or so of this record kind of chilling on the couch listening to it. And I listen to music in all sorts of ways. There's no right way to do it as far as I can tell.
Absolutely not. And it often benefits the listener to listen in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. Headphones, through phone speakers, through car speakers, through hi-fi fidelity.
So this is like listening to it, it's layered with vocal and vocal harmonies and kind of fleeting melodies and maybe semi-improvised, layered improvisation maybe.
There's a lot going on here.
A lot. There's a lot of layers.
And that was at times a little jarring.
Yeah,
I would say.
I think that I have a note right away in track 1 here that says this is sort of scary.
Absolutely. Kind of scary, little very ethereal.
Definitely. So ethereal. Really, really It's almost like ASMR. Like I was listening to something like the when I eventually put headphones on, I went back a little bit and it was like, it tickles your ear and makes your like kind of hairs on your arm stand up. That kind of quality.
Absolutely. I also got like some like Bjork vibes.
Definitely. I have Bjork and Coco Rosie.
Yes. I forgot about Coco Rosie till just now. Absolutely. I have not thought about Coco Rosie in at least a decade. That's great.
This is definitely that kind of genre of singing, I sent you that meme of that indie girl welcomes us to her kitchen. Like it's that kind of singing, it's heavy on vocal fry at times. It's heavy on the kind of jazz affectation a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's maybe a little bit heavy handed. And I didn't really quite get that the whole time, but right away I do have that. But it sounds like bands, that were influenced by Bjork, and Coco Rosie and stuff like that. And even now there's singers like Halsey or other singers that have incorporated that style of singing, the vocal fry and that kind of affectation into pop music now too. It's a pretty common way of singing.
Yeah, it definitely has like a trendiness to it.
But it doesn't always rely on that, which I like. It's not always doing this one kind of voice. That's definitely a voice, and this is of a lineage of vocal singers since Billie Holiday, who was sang in this way.
Exactly.
And I like it sometimes, but I think it really depends on who you are, who's doing this kind of voice.
Exactly, and I did find throughout the whole record that it was more sparse than I was anticipating, which I was pleased about.
Me too. It came in. There was a couple times I was like, "Ooh, that came in really heavy," but it was a choice that I'm not always going to like everyone's artistic choice. This kind of music, like a cappella music, is a very, very old style of music. Yeah,
and actually, when I was listening to it, I was like, "This is like true ambient music."
Yeah, a lot of it is.
It's like early like world kind of vibe.
Yeah, this is probably like the oldest style of music next to like beating on shit as a drum. You know what I mean? Like that was probably the first, was like check this, boom, 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 out, and then they started doing vocalizations along with it. And so I like that kind of. This is a different kind of album than a lot of albums that we've reviewed.
Totally.
So it might be a little hard to talk about it.
It's I had to laugh a little bit because we constantly talk about vocals being too quiet or instrumental music, and now Julio, he finally gets his vocals with an acapella record.
Hey, perfect.
Yeah.
I did say in the last episode, please stop sending me shit, and this is more of what we asked for.
Exactly.
A little on the nose, don't you think?
A little too much, but
yeah. But so speaking to that, I mean, this is an old style of music. This has been done for a long time. This is actually a pretty unique twist on that kind of music. I mean, churches have done it forever. Monasteries, at like indigenous tribes back in the day. It's a very, very, very old style. And it's cool to see that picked up again and not have it not be like madrigal music or like rockapella or like
that's the worst,
you know what I mean, or like
honestly.
stuff like that, or like or like whatever. Like it's not like that kind of.
No, it has more of like a spiritual vibe.
Glee
and
Club.
I was really glad to hear that it wasn't like having this loop pedal vibe. There was actually thought to the composition, which I really appreciated.
So that's a two-sided statement there. I definitely agree with that first one, and I did not think of that. This does not have a loop pedal vibe, and props for not relying on it. It sounds like live vocals, right? Like live continuous vocals. You did say about the second point. I don't know if I agree with you on that.
Gotcha.
About the composition. I think the composition is lacking a little bit, but we're still talking, I think, about this first song even, we're definitely like intrigued, right?
Absolutely.
It sounds a little incomplete.
Yeah, I did appreciate that they weren't all like long songs. I think that would have been kind of exhausting after
even
a while.
Just on this first song, I noticed that I'm noticing this sounds a little incomplete.
They definitely don't have like the build up and like descent into like an ending. It's just kind of like this like slice of music.
And I'm willing to acknowledge that like some of that is biased towards music with instruments that we both have, but some of it just feels a little bit incomplete. Like I almost say like this isn't really a song.
No, it's more like a tone poem, or something.
It's music,
Yeah.
but they're not songs. And we have gotten caught up on this idea of what a song is, right? On our stuff. Because we'll be like, oh, the first song, and you're like, oh no, that's track 2 actually. But then we'll call it the first song.
Yeah.
Even the bands we've talked to have done that. But, oh, the first song, and it's like, no, your first song is this on your own record.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, it was a throwaway.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like a.
Let's move on to track 2. That's all I have for the listeners. We're definitely jumping around, and we definitely touched on how we're going to be taking different approaches to each record based on how we feel in our own conversational flow. This is all done kind of sequentially. I do heavily edit, but everything that you're hearing kind of happens in the order that it does, pretty much.
Second song, I think already by this time, I kind of have an idea of how the rest of the record's going to sound. And I found that like a little disappointing in a way, because I was, it kind of took away the element of surprise.
Yeah, there was not a whole lot of variation. Second song is called Tune In. And let me just see the length of these songs, because they kind of all ran into my head. This one's a little bit longer at 3 minutes and 46 seconds. This is the third longest song on this record. Really short songs for the most part.
Yeah.
But even these are kind of long here. And I do start noticing like the same thing that you were saying, that it starts sounding the same. What else?
I think it's kind of, I feel like I really got more idea of like what I was wanting later on in the record.
Sure. So what I have here is that like I do start noticing that like this sounds incomplete, but you know what? This would actually sound really good on a remix.
Oh yeah, this would be great.
You know
to
what
sample.
I mean? All this stuff would be awesome. There's so many hooks and vocal things and cool like tingly moments in your ear that any producer, I think, check this out, this release, for inspiration on samples, or even just lift it, And
it's a gold mine.
And it even would be good in like a film context or a soundtrack. There were several times listening to this stuff that I was like, this is really cinematic in quality. So even filmmakers, I think you would like hear what I'm talking about. You'd be like, oh yeah, this would be great in a scene.
Yeah, and I think like specifically with Tune In, I was focusing now on the more like the recording actually, and I was appreciating some of the panning and movement in the headphones.
This is definitely a headphone record, but it is cool, and I'm liking this more than the first one, but it's long.
And like there's no real like dynamics necessarily. The only movement is like in the panning. I'm not really getting any kind of like musical movement,
Yeah, it sounds a lot to me like improvised layering. Where maybe it started with one bass and they built up, and there wasn't really anywhere this was going to go at first, and then it kind of got there. There is a lot of really good musical ideas in here, especially like in the shorter songs.
I think I was trying to imagine like what the processes of like composing these songs were, and I kind of thought maybe the artist recorded everything and then maybe chopped it up later on and kind of placed things here and there. And so maybe I feel like that maybe comes out, in like kind of like the direction of the song wasn't determined until the actual like production. It was just started out as like a collage of ideas. Yeah,
I feel like whatever composition or songwriting took a backseat in the creation of this work. Like intentionally did, like, and I think in a detrimental way to the whole thing as a whole. But there is some really really cool singing on here. There's some cool. The recording actually sounded really good on headphones. I thought it sounded cool. I was
impressed by that.
We got to talk about reverb. We have to, because you know how I feel about reverb. Was this real reverb? At times, it almost sounded like natural reverb.
At times it did, but I don't think it was.
Okay, so there was some reverb on here that I think was pretty effective then?
I think so, and I almost wish there was more variation on that, or more experimentation with the reverb.
Yeah, it got painful I mean, you know how I feel about reverb.
Yeah.
And this one kind of got to me, but I hate reverb.
I think just, if it's just your voice, you have a lot of work ahead of you to make something interesting. And I think with vocal work, you have to play around with different types of microphones and different types of spaces. And I don't necessarily think that was done here. I think it was probably just all one microphone,
Yeah.
all in one room.
Is this their first release?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder here, did she do this all herself?
I don't know. There's nothing in the liner notes.
Okay, that makes me
who
think that she
produced it.
did, which is really cool, actually, to do this as a one-person project and just kind of, because it's kind of an ambitious idea of doing an album like this.
I find that very impressive.
It's ambitious,
For sure.
100% ambitious.
Mhm.
And like, they did it, This was an album that I can let listener know that we got this one before it was done, and I was to Dan like, we're only doing ones that are finished.
Mhm.
And I was like, this one probably won't ever happen, And so
Yeah.
it's awesome to see that I was wrong. Like, I was flat
For
out
sure.
wrong. I was just straight up wrong. This would never happen. I was like, oh shit, they did it. They made it.
Yeah, and when I got the initial submission message, I was not expecting this. I was kind of
This is much
expecting
better
more
than I was
just-
expecting, I think.
Same, exactly.
This is much better and much more intricate and more thought out than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, and just far more interesting in general.
It's a helicopter.
Call the cops.
Yeah, I did. I tell you that I called the cops.
Yeah, it was so loud though.
I acted confused. I was like, I don't know what this is. It's a suspicious helicopter.
Why?
And they're like, they are the cops. And I was like, I'd like to report a suspicious helicopter. There's some really, really cool musical ideas in this whole music. And I kind of just wish it was a little bit more like cohesive in that. And maybe like they just don't have the chops for that kind of song, right? Not everyone does, but it does seem so much like it took a back seat that it got a little bit distracting.
Yeah, I also am just so unfamiliar with vocal only work too, so I don't.
You don't need to know that though.
I guess I can only compare it to like, just Western music in a way.
Did you like her voice?
I liked some parts of her voice, not
Same.
all the things.
Same. Yeah, we mentioned like some of the vocal fry and affectation. She sang pretty on pitch, and it's like
Yeah.
it was recorded good.
It's on pitch, but it all felt like it was in the same key. Every song felt like it was in the same
I
key.
guarantee that's true.
Yeah.
I think so. I'd love to hear it with some kind of orchestration or string quartet.
Oh, that'd be sick. I would love that. I would love to introduce maybe even some like noise, like harsh noise to it or something. Could be interesting. And also at times it got a little like busy for me. And I wish there was times where the voice could actually breathe. And it was just one voice singing. Because there was never time for like a melody to really come out.
There's just not that many of them, even.
Yeah.
Too. But I agree too. I think that I would love to hear just one voice or one strong voice, and it all cuts out and comes back in. But that's what I'm saying is I don't think there's a lot of thought put into songwriting into this thing.
Right. And
I don't think that those things exist because they just like it didn't occur to them to write it, or they don't know how.
for sure. Yeah. And even the voice, it can produce rhythmic aspects, and that wasn't there either.
Right, exactly. And you're right. There was parts I wasn't really crazy about the vocal fry stuff, and I'm not really into that style. It's a style that people are really drawn to, though.
Mm-hmm.
But unless you're like some shriveled up old like blues singer or something, like I really don't believe it. It kind of seems like inauthentic a little bit.
I totally agree. It's kind of like to the point of almost eye roll at this point for me.
Yeah, it's a heavy trope.
Yeah.
It's very welcome to my kitchen, And
For sure.
After seeing that, I can't like not hear that.
Yeah. So I think at times I would tune out because there's nothing for me to necessarily grab onto.
No, but you know what? This album does start off a little bit weak, and it gets better. Like I think the first couple tracks are kind of weak, and then later on, it's like, oh, this kind of gets cool. Like there's like kind of more of the Bjork style stuff coming up, And this is like actually a pretty good record for this kind of genre. It's ambitious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The next song, "Don't Give Up," was actually my favorite from the record, just because of it was the most different, and it was the most like varied.
It was that one made me felt a little long to me too, and it kind of did make me want to give up on the song. which is like not the intended
Yeah.
the intended legal consequence.
It is a little long. Wait, no, not Don't Give Up. The second one, or the one after that, Be Courageous. The last two are the longest ones.
Okay, yeah.
Be Courageous was the one where I was just like, yeah, this is too long for me.
Okay. You know, a lot of what you had said earlier in this review are things that my notes are starting to catch up with too. So it's interesting that we're I think pretty much on the same page of this. But music is wild. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
I would rather listen to this than I would some of the releases we've gotten again.
100%.
So even though this isn't like my favorite thing in the world, I still think this accomplishes music better than some stuff we've reviewed, you know? This is nowhere near the bottom of releases we've gotten. If we were to actually we don't rank anything on purpose, but if we were to, this probably would be like not even near the bottom.
Same, and I really enjoyed listening to this, and I think this is something that I could return to for inspiration.
That's a big thing. If you can inspire people, even if your work is not necessarily moving, it can also be inspiring, you know? But I was moved by a little bit of this.
Yeah, and I think I really just want to. I've been kind of trying to dive deep into Enya a little bit, and
weird
so
stuff.
It is weird stuff, and that's what. And I think because of that, I was able to appreciate this on like a different level.
Yeah. It does have a lot of new aginess to it. It's more of a new agey record. The lyrical content is kind of inspirational. It definitely sounds to me like, and I said that I wondered if this, or maybe I haven't said this yet, but I wonder if this artist did this more for themselves than they did for a listening audience, you know?
Some of this stuff does seem a little personal, and I tried to tap into that a little bit, but again, like the actual composition, even though it was, I guess
like
not
deeply,
just like it wasn't stacked onto each other, but it's still at the same time I wasn't able to get into that flow state
with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I put down with these. I kind of have my phone in hand when I listen, and I kind of do try to put it down every now and then, but I was drawn to my phone to write more and hear, you know.
Yeah, I wish like they would add some kind of maybe vocal rhythmic effect, even with just like cadences of sentence reading or lyric reading, just some kind of repetition to help meditate.
There was repetition, but I'll bring this up that like there's a weird tension with this music.
Yeah,
like you want to turn it up to hear it closer. You know, but I was like afraid to, because I was afraid her vocals would do something weird that would like make me regret having to. That never happened. And then I was thinking about like trust in music, how like you kind of like trust an artist to not prank you with an audio clip that's going to like ruin your ears.
Yeah, I think for me, like there was repetition, but it would get drowned out by like another part. And then I'm out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can appreciate that, the push and pull, but I think for this style of music, it may be more beneficial to lend yourself more to the, at least meditative aspect of it.
I think so too. And, like as a first release, it's pretty interesting, and there's so many more directions this artist could go in.
For sure.
I think this has kind of an elvish quality to it. Like it'd be good in a fantasy setting.
Good in a fantasy setting.
Like some sort of medium. It almost reminds me of Joanna Newsom a little bit. It reminds me of even like some early Tyrannosaurus Rex, like the first two albums.
Okay.
Like in a way, there's some melodies and some ideas that kind of have this like mystical, you know, far off land kind of vibe to them.
I was kind of seeing this in like a sci-fi kind of thing.
Totally. Sci-fi and fantasy are like super related, you know?
But back to what you said, about first release, this is really ambitious first release, and I think that's really cool. That's like that's commendable for for trying something pretty ambitious.
Do you think that like if they were to continue doing music, assuming they're continuing to do music, are they going to stick with a cappella?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I wonder if this was like, well, I want to make music and I don't necessarily play any instrument, or and or have the means to record those instruments, but I can record my voice, and I've always wanted to make music.
Yeah, I think you're probably pretty close to like the motives and means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, that's all we're trying to do is we're trying to like definitely get to the bottom of things. We're trying
It's
to
all speculation.
Yeah, we all just speculate. We just bust out our monocles, shine them up, and see what we see.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes we're wrong, and sometimes we're right, and sometimes that doesn't even matter.
I feel like there's a point with this record where it all does start to sound the same. And it sounds the same enough that I'm going to end up whittling it down in my brain to like what I thought was good about it or what I thought was bad about it. And with these kind of releases that are like that, it's so like instinctual where I decide to place that album in my brain. Like, do I like this or do I not like it? I think I like it.
I like it too, but by the last two songs, which are the two longest ones, I was like, I think I get what's going on here, and I don't really need to finish these songs.
Mm-hmm.
But
right. Both of these I wrote look like they're long, and to be honest, I like it more when these songs are short.
Same.
Which is kind of good. Like that's actually that. We've said this a couple times, but that's a compliment to be like, your music's so good, I only got to hear half of it.
Right.
Take a rest for the last 2 minutes and then make a different song with that energy.
For sure.
This is an interesting release though, and it pushes a cappella and choir style music, and I like this last track. It's just long.
I think more people should listen to music like this, including me, just again, for the inspiration aspect of it. It treats music in such a different way, and I really appreciate that.
It does definitely, and I'm just being critical because that's why I'm here and that's what you're listening for. But like, there are parts of this that didn't. It was like there were some sub cringe moments. It wasn't quite cringe. There was like these were like soft cringe, but there were also moments that are like, wow, that was really cool. And that took my brain on a kind of a sensory. When I had headphones on, great headphones album. I kind of felt like, okay, that's kind of tingling my brain a little way.
Totally. And I think you mentioned this earlier, but like, this is probably a record meant for more personal, listening.
Definitely.
Not necessarily for the masses. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's so cool that music has the capability of that kind of expression for somebody. And that it sounds like to the lyrics, that it was encouraging and positive thing for them to work on this record, probably for their own personal, life. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this shows a lot of growth, a lot of room to grow too.
It definitely does.
In the best way, though. It's exciting.
A very ambitious first release. And also thematically, it's kind of cool because I think thematically it's very similar to the next record we're going to review. I think these actually have very similar themes. And it's a theme of kind of just like, improving on yourself and overcoming and staying that way, I guess.
For sure.
Because that's the hard part. You can overcome and you can feel those highs, but how do you stay up there, That's the hard part.
And that goes with any creative project. And we feel like you and I feel that all the time just making this podcast. There's we've experienced a lot of highs, but there are a lot of things and a lot of, what am I trying to say? There are a lot of insecurities with making something like this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's always going to come through. But just putting yourself out there is like not insecure.
Yeah.
Right? Like that definitely is a step up.
That's a vulnerable move for sure. But the feedback then is where it gets a little dicey. But but we carry on, and it's still so much fun.
Yeah. Do you have anything else really to say about this release overall, aside from obviously listen to this record? I want to hear what you think about this. This is one of the more interesting releases that we've reviewed.
Absolutely.
And I think they get a gold ribbon on that one for episode 10.
Episode 10, baby. I don't have anything else to say about this.
I would love to see what's going to happen in the future.
Yes, keep your eye on Sumvivus and see what she has next.
Yeah, and listen to the album. What was the name of this album again?
Kriya.
Perfect. It's on Spotify. It's on Bandcamp. If you want us to review one of your records that you put out in 2020 or 2021, send us an email at bandscamps@gmail.com.
Did this album get there?
Did it get there? Yeah, I think so. I think totally. This would be a hard album to record. I can't imagine making something like this.
Mm-hmm. I am hesitant to say it got there.
Okay.
I think maybe it didn't, just because of the lack of maybe variation, and I think there's a lot more sonic possibilities that weren't touched on, though it is a first release. So I think it has potential to, like, if they kind of continue down this path, they absolutely have the potential to get there. But I'm not sure.
You're not sure about this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you're right. You know what? I think I say they got there with the caveat of I want to hear what the next record sounds like.
For sure.
And then that's going to really make me change what I think about this record. Maybe not. Or maybe it's like, yeah, this record will stand on its own, and record number 2 is this whole different thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
The future is wide open here. Ratings?
Rating, I'm going to rate this as the fact that I find it so crazy that we still are finding new animals on the planet.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What is up with that?
That's crazy, right?
It is very, very crazy. I'm going to give this album a resale store coffee mug that's like your favorite comic book character, or like your favorite comic strip character. And you're like, oh my God, I have to have this.
Have to have it.
And it's stained on the inside. And you still buy it.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Thanks so much for sending your record in for review and trusting us with your music. Overall, this record was a interesting record, but also a hard record to talk about. And that's just the nature of this acapella stuff. We don't listen to acapella music as a culture, really.
No. And maybe we should.
I think if people keep putting out releases that are like pushing the limits of what acapella and choir music can do, I think I would be interested in checking that out. And especially for like DJing or sampling or hip hop track making, there's some really cool stuff in this kind of music, and in this one especially.
Do you remember the like modern Gregorian chant record that came out? Like,
oh yeah,
it was just called Chant.
Yeah. Naminos, boom, ba-ba-da, boom.
Straight up, that shit was sick, man.
Right? It does that.
Yeah. Yeah. Listeners, check out Chant. That's some modern day Gregorian vocal music.
I have that on tape. I have an MTV Party to Go. I don't know which volume it is, like volume 2 or 3, but it has a mega mix, and that's one of the songs on there.
Yes. So, Julio, you should probably DJ some of that for your next live set.
Man, I like that, but you get flagged. I have to do brand new music.
So
if I do
right.
Facebook, I can't do classic stuff because I'll get flagged. But if I do Twitch, I can't. I just got to switch over to Twitch. I'm just lazy.
And once once we get like herd immunity, we'll do this in person.
Oh, we'll just do our own in-person dance party.
And then, all bets are off at that point.
Yeah, we'll charge crypto to get in.
Exactly.
And you get an NFT of the DJ set.
Dang.
I know. Listeners, stick around. We have more band scamps coming to you after this break.
Hello, all West Michigan artists. If you have any music that you released in 2020, the Band Scamps want to talk about it. We'll give your music the critical and in-depth listen and review that it deserves. Submit your music to bandscamps@gmail.com. Let us help you spread the word about your music. Also, if you have a product or small business that wants to reach thousands of people weekly, we are looking for sponsors. Inquire at bandscamps@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and let's get back to the show. Welcome back to episode 10 of Band Scamps. We out here.
We out here, in here.
We in here.
We're deep in the internet.
It's nasty, honestly.
It really is. They need to clean this place out. They need to shut down parts of it.
It's gritty. It's offensive.
But it's where we hang out. This is kind of our home base now. We don't get to hang out in person.
That's right. It might be all those things, but and the most important thing, it's home.
Yeah, it is home. It's kind of Scampland.
Scampland. We have another 2021 release for y'all here from KJ and the Good Time Family Band. This album is called Dynamics, and it came out on March 26th of this year.
Oh, wow. Well, this is going to be about a month in since release.
That's right.
Because this is listener right now. You're listening at 420. The date today is April 8th.
April 8th. That's right. So this album is, man, what are your first impressions?
So let's talk about album art. Album art's awesome.
Album art is sick.
Really, really cool. I didn't glance at who designed this, but I really like it.
I would actually like if this was a piece I could buy, I would put this in my house.
Yeah, I wonder if it was done digitally or if it almost looks like a painting. It looks kind of
looks like a painting.
Looks like a 50s jazz album. Almost.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. First impressions though, let's go into the music. There's it seems like an intro song, kind of a build up, a vibe. And
I'm here for it. I loved it as an intro.
Yeah, it was nice.
It set the vibe nice, I thought.
Is this the track 9 to 5? Is that what it's called? Or is
That's right.
Yep. So right away, the horns sound nice.
The horns sound great. I'm happy to hear horns.
Me too.
You know, KJ and the Good Time Family Band. What do you think of when you hear that? You think of KC and the Sunshine Band,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, KC and the Sunshine Band. Or I kind of think about like 70s like TV bands.
Yes, exactly. Especially with family
like
bands.
A kid's show, maybe?
Yeah, right. So going in, I was like, this is probably going to be like funk, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think we got that impression. I think when they even sent it to us, I thought you guys are probably a funk band.
Yeah.
And the horns maybe are kind of like, okay, maybe that's kind of enforcing that a little bit. I started listening on headphones, and it was all very bright. Like I noticed on headphones, really, really, really bright. And so I said, I'm going to listen to this in a few ways because that kind of brightness to me, when I hear that on a recording, it kind of speaks to like a home recording.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it has some of these like kind of mistakes that a lot of home recorders have when they want their stuff to sound less bassy. They kind of brighten it up, and so right away I'm like, I'm gonna listen to this on different ways. So I kind of switched it up as I.
That's
went.
interesting. I actually I embrace the kind of high pitches just because Apple headphones, which is what I used to listen to it, are naturally more bassy. So it worked out that way. But I could see if you're using better headphones, you're probably gonna want to play it on a nicer stereo.
Yeah, so far so good on this right away. You know, nice little groove. This will probably be a good listen. Like I'm kind of excited for the record based on the tone of this first song.
I mean I'm not well versed in the funk world, so I know like the radio hits. Yeah. So I didn't, and I'm not like it's not my main type of music that I go to. So I was a little hesitant. But I will say I really, really, really like this record a lot. Actually.
Nice. So, right with you talking about how about funk, we can probably talk about that a little bit later in this episode because that is something that this is probably the first like really heavy on funk record that we've reviewed. There's been a couple that have had elements of funk in their music, but this one really, really leans into it, and it has its kind of own, musical history and style and everything. And they do a lot of these types of funk really well on this record. Right away, the mix I'm noticing is kind of a little bit of question marks for me. I wrote this mix is a little bit question mark. But
I thought that too.
But I'm going to ignore that because I like this so far.
Yeah, I think the mix was, I guess, there were some question marks, but I felt it overall like, this is going to sound bad, like, but forgivable, I guess. I don't mean that in a bad way, but it wasn't enough to like take me out of the experience.
Same, and I have that. I said I'm going to ignore that because I like this so far, and so that does speak to the power of your own composition or musical ideas. Yeah. That maybe if it's not perfect sounding, you can still get your ideas across with open mind and heart or whatever.
Yeah. So let's get to the actual first song, which
Hold
is the
on,
second.
One second. Yeah. That first track faded out. It did a fade out, a really long fade out, and I don't know. That kind of like made me not feel great.
Really?
I can't really pinpoint why, but it was so short. It was so short that the fade out itself was like 1/5 of the song, and so you're just taking. I don't know, and I think that's a concept that I think came back in my mind a few times. That I'm going to bring up. That kind of notion comes up a few times on this record, but that's all I have for track 1.
Okay. Track 2 is called "Be Still." And my first note is I'm kind of thinking Chili Peppers, like a little bit.
I have that note. I don't think I got there until a couple songs later, but definitely.
And going with that Chili Peppers thought pattern, I had to check because, and to confirm this, but I was glad that this band is not just a bunch of white dudes.
That's really funny because my first note on here is... It's actually, let me write these 3 because it's pretty funny. I have white boy funk ? And then I said, okay, I need to stop writing and take it in. And then my next question is interracial. So that is good.
Yeah, that Because I felt like it would have been maybe like mildly offensive if it was like a bunch of white dudes.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just it just crossed my mind that it was the genre that I call in my own brain white boy funk.
Yeah.
And then I was like proven wrong in a way. Not that like I think racially like that, like, oh, you're no longer that genre. Like you can still be white boy funk and
absolutely.
Like there's so many bands that are considered like white guy music bands, like Dave Matthews Band, when like the majority of the people in that band are black. I was watching some comedy show, and the guy like mentioned like, oh, I'm the black guy from Dave Matthews Band, and I was like, there's 3 black dudes in that band.
there's quite a bit.
Mostly like
it's
black
mostly
men.
black guys. Yeah.
But it gets lumped in, and so maybe that's just prejudices, and so
Yeah.
like I'm willing to acknowledge that maybe that's just us being racist.
Maybe, yeah.
But it's definitely like kind of sort of hippie music. This music would do really well in a live setting.
I felt that 100%. I was like, if this was live, I would be all about this. It has energy.
I wondered what you would think. I said, I wondered if Dan would like this. I said, I like funk music. Does Dan like funk music?
I don't know, but I was actually more drawn to the hip hop and R&B elements of it.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's definitely a lot of R&B, a lot of hip hop. It's definitely up. The vocals are mostly rap with some singing.
Yeah.
I was like nodding my head. This could have the potential to be really popular, like in a live setting.
Same. I was
or at a bar, a festival.
Yeah, a brewery for sure. I was just like chilling on my couch listening to this, and then I got up to get another cup of coffee, and I found myself kind of wiggling a little bit.
Yeah, I'm nodding my head. Like this is less our style of music, but I do think there's a lot in here that we appreciate.
Totally.
Over other stuff that we like equally. You know what I mean? Like this is like not our genre, but there's stuff on here that we're going to like more than other stuff that's also not our genre, I think.
Totally.
And that's really good. But there is some cheese to this.
There is the lyrics overall, I think, are like big cheese.
Yeah. I wrote there's some cheese in here, but then I wrote this vocal modulation part on this track is really winning me back over. Like it got kind of like Parliament Funkadelic-y.
Yeah,
it got like a little more. Yeah,
psychedelic.
And that's one of the times, and they don't even really like do tropes in this band, but they definitely like, oh, we're aware of this band doing this kind of vocal mod trippy thing, and that was cool. And at the end of the song, I was like, okay, this vocal mod won me back over, and I said, okay, that was good.
For sure, and they do that one more time in the next song. But not to get ahead of ourselves.
Let's do it. That's all I got for that song.
Okay. Same.
So the next track is called Come On, Get Down. And listener, if you have not listened to these songs or you don't know what we're talking about, feel free to pause it. Listen to that song and come back. You can pause it and come back. I don't care.
You will be rewarded with the listen.
Yeah, we'll be here when you come back. All right, welcome back. This song is called
Come On, Get Down.
Come On, Get Down.
Here, okay, so this is what, like the third track?
Yeah, track 3, song 2.
Track 3...
Well, the first one's a song 2, track 3.
Yeah, track 3. This kind of thing, this is where I was getting kind of annoyed because I hate the whole, like, come on, everyone get in the mood vibe that goes on so long.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they've been, like, they did that with an intro track. They did that with the first one. Now they're still trying to be like, hey, we're like, we're funky. Like, get into the funk with us.
That's like a major component of funk, though.
Is it okay?
Like, it is. It's like the major, like, I would say the major unifying theme is come get funky with me.
Okay.
Like, we're getting funky over here. We invite you to join us in the funk.
I think just like it still felt so like introductory, and
Yeah.
I was like, I know who you guys are now. Like, let's
like maybe
move
you
on.
wanted them to take you to the next level. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm on your level. What's
exactly.
next?
Yeah, I'm in the funk now.
So like they're still encouraging you to get down, but you've been getting down.
I'm been down.
You've been down. Yeah.
That's the whitest thing I've ever
funk
heard.
Funk is a weird music because people stop liking it once you call it something else. Like funk is funk, but then once you call it R&B, people are like, oh, I don't know about that. Or once you start calling it disco or house or whatever, people are like, oh, I don't like house. I don't like disco, but I like funk, or I don't like dance music. I mean, it's all just the same kind of idiom.
They're all derivative of all of each other.
Yeah, it's just the hippies started like playing soul records and matched them, and they found out, hey, the best parts of these songs are the parts that go on forever that everyone dances to. What if the music was just that? You know?
Totally.
And it's just so weird because people like inherently always like funk music, and then once you call something else, they're like, I don't like that anymore.
Yeah. Because funk is cool, you know?
Oh, it's super. It's meant to be cool. It's meant to make you shake your butt
cool.
and free your mind in the process. So And I don't know if this band does a second part. Like, they definitely make you want to shake it, but like, I don't know if they're expanding my mind while they're doing it. I don't know if they're trying to do that.
I don't think they're trying to do that, and I definitely didn't get that, but I do have a note that says, this makes me want to dance.
Yep, and that's important. The funk guitar was cool on here. I wish it sounded a little better.
Yeah.
The recording.
That's my whole like issue with like funk tone, is that it's so hard to get right because it's so clean, and
You
just
need like the cleanest 70s Strat ever.
you really need to be going like directly into like an actual like hardware mixing board.
It's hard. That's a style of guitar
Yeah.
playing that I don't know how to do.
I don't know how to do either.
The variation on the bar chords and like the you know, I was working on a song once that I'm Coming Out by what's her name, Diana Ross. You know,
Oh, yeah.
But it's all at the same shape of chord, but just slight variations in there. And that style is so cool.
It's so cool. Rhythmically, it's so intricate, and I can't grasp it at all. And that guitar outro for Come On Get Down was sick. I loved that.
It's really cool guitar work. I wish it sounded a little cooler.
Yeah.
I wrote, this is good, I think.
I think by the end, like with that last guitar outro, the hesitance of enjoying this record had gone away, and I was like, all right, I'm into this now, I think.
Yeah, it does actually. You said Casey and the Sunshine Band. They do sound a bit like Casey and the Sunshine Band. They have their moments.
A little bit, yeah.
They sound like Chili Peppers, and I wrote, I think I'm kind of a fan now of this. I think they're winning me over.
Same.
It's so light, but all funk has that vibe, like
It's very light.
Getting funky with me is the goal of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A lot of people just want someone to get funky with them.
Yeah, that's true.
And I love that, like, that is like such a call of funk. It's like, we're getting down. Do you want to join us? Because you can. All you have to do is open your mind and your ass a little bit.
Yeah, it's very inclusive in that way, which is cool. And I felt that, I felt like I was, I didn't feel hesitance to like get down with it. I didn't feel like grumpy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't turn you off, and
yeah,
because like I said, there is some cheese to this that could turn me off, but what I liked about it overpowered it, and like my critique of the slight things about this recording are really the only downside that I'm seeing of this stuff, and like what's stopping it from being perfect so far, or just like I don't really like the way that sounds. I didn't think about the snare at all. I don't think about this record.
I didn't think about the snare
maybe
either.
For a second. I think I did for a second with that. That's a good one. Got to bring up the snare.
Good.
There was no snare drum in the last record, so
that's right.
So I didn't hate the way the snare drum sounded on that one.
Good job.
Anything else on this song?
Mm-mm.
All right, listeners, we're gonna move on to Funky Lover.
Funky Lover. The only note I have is that the lyrics are cheesy.
Yeah. I think I have a pretty big one here. I can just go off here for a second. There's some guitar choices on here that I'm not crazy about. And I said, I wonder what Dan thinks. We kind of covered that a little bit, but again, we're guitar players, and I like some of the playing on here, but there's some of it that the way it's coming across and sounding is like, man, I would have done that differently.
Let me revisit this one real quick.
And I wonder how integral the guitar player is to the composition of this music. And so there isn't really room to be like, don't do that.
I guess for me, it's just forgettable.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any notes about the guitar work on that.
I like when this stuff goes a little harder than this.
Yeah.
They have the potential to kind of go hard, and they keep saving it for the bridge.
Yeah.
Which we all know is like the worst part of the song. So it's like, I always am like, yeah, when they go a little harder, go a little darker, get a little more like diabolical in their music, more intense. I like it. It kind of has all this medium, like, we're all hype and here we go and da. And I kind of want some variation in the main parts of the song.
That's where I think they should probably draw more from Funkadelic and to get those like harder, more emotional, playing in.
Yeah, is this their first release, or do you know as they have other releases?
This is, I believe, their sophomore release.
Okay, interesting. Like, this is a band that I think would really benefit from a release model of like a few singles at once with videos and everything as a whole package. Like this album to me, it is kind of good, but it kind of starts dropping off, in retrospect, as I like gave it my second listen a little bit ago.
Really?
And
I felt like it picked up, actually. I feel like I liked it more after Funky Lover.
I think, I'm saying on subsequent listens.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think that like what I'm hoping is that they didn't like blow their wad on this record.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
And I hope that they have more songs and ideas, because as this stands, it is like pretty dense and like pretty long. That like, and a lot of work went into this. That I hope that they like milked it. They're milking it for all it's worth, if that makes sense.
For sure.
And it's a weird way to put it, but like from like a managed like a business standpoint, like with these songs,
like, is this the best they can do?
It just felt like too much. Like maybe they like did too much, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah, I don't know if I get that yet. This.
I mean, like more like in an efficiency way, and that's going to be like I'm not really sure where I'm going with that, but that's kind of what I wrote down. Like it just seems like they would really benefit from like singles being released, and maybe that's just because of the pandemic. You know, this is a very like live oriented band. It sounds like
for sure.
It's probably will be very popular live.
I would love to see this live,
and I like this more than some of the other stuff that we've reviewed. That's kind of in the same vein, like. I like it more than Earth Radio was released. I like it more than Brandino was released, you know?
Same.
And it's even like, it's almost in the same musical realm of the Ryan Experience stuff, but they're all so different. They're all so different. But there's a lot of music coming out of this town that we can all explore. We're just scratching the surface on this stuff, but it's like so kind of linked by maybe like an aesthetic of music making that these bands kind of share. But I do like this better than other stuff.
Same. This whole scene in general could really benefit from maybe more eclectic lineups, I guess, and more just conversations between different artists. And I'm hoping that this podcast maybe can help that, because it will just naturally bring in more inspiration from other genres and ideas that I think that will benefit everyone.
There's a lot of like really good players in this town, and it's cool to see that. It was something I was thinking about with this record. Like in the modern day, the really good players are not only pursuing like academic music, you know, like orchestra or like music theory teaching or like anything in universities and colleges or whatever. They're actually being like, I'm going to start a band.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of really talented music playing that's happening, but like what I want to see is like these like 3 or 4 people who are classically trained teaming up with some person who's not, who writes brilliant songs, you know, because a lot of these bands are lacking the songwriting chops.
That's right, yeah. Songwriting chops or just like overall vision, I guess. We talk about this so much, but I really stand by that. Like, if you want any kind of production assistance or producer, like reach out to us. I'm not saying that we're the best, but I feel like that we might be able to, or any kind of outsider can really help flush out a vision.
Yeah, and a lot of these bands are kind of young bands, so like they're just happy to get their vision put to tape, you know, in a reasonable approximation of what it sounds like in their heads.
Right. I
kind of write here that this is like going into the song Interruption. You know, that song has an interesting groove, and it's kind of has this kind of hypnotizing feel that I like. But also I start writing here, maybe this should have been an EP, but the rest of the album will tell. At this point, I think it started getting to me.
Gotcha.
The music.
I think by this time I actually have a note that just says, "Ooh, yeah!" Like I was in it by this point. I was thinking of like Del the Funky Homo Sapien, and that vibe, and I was right there with it. I loved it. Yeah,
there was like the hip hop influence there is really nice on some of the stuff here, and especially is Interruption the one that is the really short one. Is that the one, or is it it's the next one?
It's the next one, Adrian's Valley.
Okay, but both these tracks though have very, very strong like hip hop influence. And I wrote here that like this track should have maybe been track 4, and then I was like, I would put this album in a totally different order than it's in right now.
I think they need to step away from the funk a little bit and actually focus more on like the hip hop thing. I think that's where they're actually excelling.
Yeah, that next track, the hip hop song, was way too short. Yeah. It was really nice.
Oh, I loved it. It's a guest vocalist, so I don't think that's anyone in the band rapping. It's like Adrian rapping.
Okay. Dope little song. That was fun.
Yeah.
The next song comes in. Do you have anything else about that song?
No.
Okay. The next song comes in, and I kind of checked out here. I was like fucking around on Discord, and I noticed that I was like, oh, that song ended. I went back to it. So I did go back and check it out. More Chili Peppers.
For this one, I thought there was a nice vibe change, and that it was more moving in that late 70s
vibe.
And I'm a big
fun.
70s music. Yeah, it's very fun.
It's fun, and this music is fun, and it has that going for it a lot. It's very fun. It's kind of sort of 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's a lot of fun stuff out of it, but man, this band has some shitty choruses.
The choruses are not great.
They're borderline cringe on some of these.
I think it's just the lyrics for me are just like not interesting.
No, they're not, and the melodies are kind of just like, I don't know. It's like, it sounds like it was like their first idea and they never changed it. Like maybe they never changed their vocal ideas. Some bands don't, it's like that's where the song goes.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard, but I think there's
some
vocal
shit, there's some bad choruses that like made me be like, like
I don't think I could like sing a chorus from this album at all. I could maybe sing some like guitar lines or like horn lines or something, but never a chorus.
Great horns all around.
Yeah, horns are sick.
The bass playing's very nice in this record too.
Mm-hmm.
I like the guitar playing too. I didn't like how it was recorded. And I like the vocal presentation. Like aside from like the lyrics being kind of whatever, and maybe the melodies not being that strong, I like the presentation. I bet as a front man, they're good. Like the singer of this band or my singers, I bet are entertaining live.
Yeah, I thought the singer actually had like at least in the verses like a pretty nice kind of cadence to how they approached melody. It was definitely more like rhythm forward, which I appreciated. But again, like the catchiness and the melody of it was just not there. Yeah.
And it's like we're getting like after that hip hop track being teased that it's like I kind of felt like I wanted like, oh, that was so cool. How about more variation like that? Oh no, okay,
right.
You ready to move on to Needle Drop?
I think that's. I was actually talking about Needle Drop.
That's the problem. So Needle Drop 2 has like more of that funk, but it's almost going towards like the Jamiroquai or house music or like 80s bedroom funk feel.
Yeah.
I would love for them to go in that direction more.
Same. I think I liked Needle Drop and the one after this, but the one that we just talked about, New Horizons, I didn't have any notes on.
Okay.
So
yeah, that was that's understandable. That's the one that I told you I checked out on. Yeah. And I had to go back because I noticed you probably checked out.
I probably checked out too. Yeah.
So Needle Drop. Yeah. Needle Drop. It has almost that like Prince vibe, like Prince.
Yeah.
Like, Prince loved the studio, but he also like some of his recordings sound like he just like made it in his bed, like, and it just has that funk groove and he's just doing his thing.
Yeah. I love that.
This band has a very, very live band sound.
Yeah, there's actually energy you can hear.
And I don't think they always need to sound like that. And I'm going to clarify, like, I want to see them use the studio as an instrument more. I want to see the drums.
I hear you for sure. Mm-hmm.
I want to see the drums sounding a little more electro sometimes.
Yeah.
Like there were so many times that I was reminded it was a band, and I wish it was more like bending and, like more
totally.
Like bending what is a band, what is production. Like Earth Radio, we didn't like that album all that much, but to their credit, they did that very well. They bended,
so good.
They bended what's the band, what's production, what's the vocals, what's the synthesizer so well. And I would love for this to go in that realm. Like they almost feel so attached to the live band thing. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, man. There hasn't been live music for the last year and a couple months, Like, so to put out a record that's so just like in your face live, it seems a little tone deaf in my opinion.
And maybe that's why I enjoyed it, because it just did like emulate that live experience so well.
We all miss it.
And we miss it desperately. But I do agree that like they have an opportunity to really use the studio for its tools and to really elevate your sound.
That's probably the biggest note I have is like use the studio as an instrument more, and that's not always easy to do. You can't just be like, I want to be experimental when you're trying your fucking hardest just to get a good drum take. You know what I mean? You don't have time to be experimental. And they're a young
or
band.
Money even,
Yeah, I think this might have been self-produced.
Potentially, yeah, for sure.
I think so. I don't know. I don't know for certain. I think this might have been self-produced.
If it was, I wouldn't be surprised, I think.
No, I wouldn't either. And if it was, it sounds very good for being self-produced.
Absolutely. That's all I have for Needle Drop.
Yeah, I wrote this, like, all things aside, this is pretty cool. Some of the songwriting was getting to me a bit. The vocals are a bit, like, flat. And I'm not saying flat, like, in pitch, although sometimes I feel like that happened, but flat as, like, just monotone.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Mm-hmm.
There's kind of a 1-octave range here that's, like, needs to be explored more. And I think a lot of that is the limitations of, like, maybe this person's playing guitar while they're singing. Mm-hmm. And you can only sing so good.
I think the singer it would be cool to hear them sing in some falsetto for some choruses or something. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. It started feeling, this is, at this point in the record, it starts feeling like a chore. Right around needle drop. Yeah.
And then right into 4:15 is like kind of the end, like the ballad, I guess.
Okay.
It's not the ballad, but
there's also a song before that had a bunch of gang vocals on it that were really cool. What was the name of that song?
Before Needle Drop?
No, after Needle Drop.
Oh, Always Forever. That's like the outro song.
Okay, so Needle Drop then has the chorus on the end. There was some cool singing at the end there. There's some cool like gang vocal style stuff. That was interesting. But it was long. I really start feeling like, oh man, this is a long album. 4:15.
Yeah, this is like the slowest of the songs. It has the 70s vibe, which I really like, but it feels like, it's like an ending track, even though it's not the actual end.
Yeah. It kind of sounded like Stevie Wonder a little bit, but not
it's
really.
Long.
Oh, it's really long. Like not really like in the way I wanted it to sound like Stevie Wonder. It did. There's some really good bass playing on here. That's why I say again, good bass playing.
Good bass playing. I thought the key sound actually was like really fitting for the vibe they're going.
Yeah, I thought the vocals sounded out of phase. Like there was two mics and they were placed out of phase. Gotcha. I don't know if it was intentional. And I have written here like this song is hilarious.
I think I just at that point I was like, it was like the music was cheesy, so like I was able to kind of like appreciate like the whole cheesiness of it.
Yeah,
and just like kind of like lean into that.
I wrote this song is hilarious, and I hope that was the intention. If so, it's spot on. If not, tell people it was. It's sort of cruddy filler.
Yeah, I mean, just anything that has like ba-da-da-das in it is kind of just like,
It was okay. Like if it was trying to be what I think it was trying to be, then it was genius. And if it's not, then it's way off the mark. And it's like it kind of then adds to my this should have been an EP thing.
For sure. Okay.
So that brings us to Always Forever.
Always Forever is, I thought, why? I guess it sounded kind of neat, but like I was already kind of just out of the record. I feel like the last 4:15 took me out of the record, and then like it kind of like reels you back in or tries to, and I was just like, no, I think I'm good with the listen. I got everything I wanted.
This band is really good at like grokking the short musical ideas that form like from slight variations in a chord or a drum fill or a slight vocal change of a thing that only takes a couple seconds to do. But they seem to have a hard time understanding that these big, long musical ideas that you're taking 2.5 minutes to do could be done in 10 seconds. And that's kind of what happens here, I think. Yeah.
It's a long outro. It's like almost 3 minutes.
This could have been like the end of a song or like the last 10 seconds of a bridge, right?
Exactly.
And it would have gotten the and so I don't know. It kind of left me with like a lot of questions at the end of there of like this kind of, there's some stuff on here that doesn't need to be on this album, I think.
Yeah. I think I would agree with that for sure.
Some cool vocals on the end. Some very cool
vocals. Some
cool vocals on the end.
Some of it was off though. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
I think it was that jazz, maybe.
No.
No. Jazz expert Dan Fisher says no.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if you like it. I don't give a fuck if you like anything at all. I don't care. We should also, like when we do a live show, we should have like a guest panelist who's just some old guy, you know, and we make him listen to it and he tells us what he thinks about it.
Yeah. And we're just like, okay, whatever.
We're like, but guess that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we fight him.
Yeah.
We fight him for a sandwich.
I wish that we could get like a little, like a mezzanine that we could be like the old Muppet guys and like every show. Yeah.
We can figure this out. We got a green screen and cardboard.
Yeah, we just need to be like those guys and just be like,
yeah. We can just do that with like already taped shows. You know, like we seriously can do that. I did that with the WICE show. We could do that to all the jammies. We can have we could that be one of our streams.
Oh, that would be so. Great.
We can straight up do it. Just have it behind us, and we just talk about every jammy performance. The whole. I think that would actually be really funny. Oops. Okay, let's do it.
I'm sorry, something's playing. There we go.
That's okay.
All right.
This was a really interesting release.
Maybe because I went in with low expectations, but I actually really enjoyed this record.
I think I enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot, and I actually am really looking forward to the opportunity where I can see this band live.
Definitely. There was a lot I really liked about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of went over, and I think it was about half of it that I really liked. But the half that I didn't like, I didn't hate.
For sure. That makes sense.
Yeah. It wasn't like there was like some stuff where I liked and hated. Like I think the fucking Sugartone Noise Company was like, I love half of this and I hate half of this. I wasn't there with this. I was like, I love half of this. I like some of it, and I could go without the rest of it.
I think for me, I was just more kind of doing like the okay,
Yeah.
all the whole time, just like
That's
okay.
what I was doing a lot of that too, and I worry if am I gonna have that experience upon subsequent listens?
I probably won't because now I know it's coming. So, but I still think it's enjoyable.
And I think that gets in the way of it being like perfect for me. Like,
Yeah.
it's not perfect.
Sure,
It's pretty good though.
it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. We're ready for ratings?
Well, did it get there?
Did it get there? Yeah, I think so. I think for a sophomore record, it got there.
I think it got there too. It sounds like the band. I think when we see the band, we'll hear this sound.
Yeah. I don't think this is like their OK Computer or anything.
Absolutely not. I think the next step for them is to explore different genre blends.
Yeah, blends of funk. And, funk is such an interesting genre. It kind of offshot off of like, kind of hippie music, and it kind of is a Midwestern sound. There was bands out of Ohio that were doing stuff. There was bands out of Detroit. And it just was a kind of revolution of music. Take the funky part of the song, and the whole song is that. And the purpose is to get down. And I think that you will get down to this music if you listen to it. And I think that they are going to be really cool in the future too. I'm excited to see what they do.
For sure. Yeah, I would love to see them take kind of expand my mind a little more, get a little more psychedelic, definitely embrace the hip hop, more rapping.
Yeah, more rapping, more bedroom funk, more electro, more like, I don't know, Roger and Zapp shit like that.
Maybe some distortion on the guitar.
Definitely, yeah. There's a lot of directions you guys can go with this, but I think we, for the most part, enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed both releases, and they both, like I said,
too.
They thematically, this song is a lot about like reclaiming yourself and overcoming and being more comfortable with things, and I think that's a lot of what the last record that we reviewed is about too, and that's really interesting.
For sure. And speaking on that, the liner notes do say this album is about the never-ending juggling act of life. How do we find balance in between chasing our dreams, working our day jobs, and dodging temptations of life that we should avoid?
That sounds like just basically about right where.
Yeah, I think they said that. Yeah.
Cool.
Ratings.
I'm going to rate this a brand new, out of the bag basketball hoop net. And it has a smell. It has a smell of like sporting goods.
I'm going to give this antique Persian rug.
Ooh. Two very different reviews. Very different ratings.
That's right. Here at Band Scamps, it's wild. Again, we're on the internet here. There are no rules in the internet. You're on the internet right now.
Yeah, I think so. Unless you downloaded this, and if you did, you took it from the internet. So
yeah, you basically stole it.
Yeah. Would you steal the internet?
Yeah. Would you steal the internet? Would you steal this podcast? Is this podcast an NFT?
We can make it one.
We could make it one.
No one would buy it. I would.
I wouldn't.
I only want to sell. I only want to sell NFTs that people are going to buy because I don't want to be like removed from auction.
Yeah, like you don't want to be the laughing stock of. You don't want to be an NFTs.
No, never. Listeners, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's been a great time here talking about both these records. I encourage you to go listen to them if you haven't yet. For some reason, you're some kind of masochist who wants to hear the review before you hear their music. Let us know what you think too. Please send us an email. If you want to sponsor an episode, if you got a business, product, band, if you're releasing something, if you're an artist, if you just got a message for the world, please send us an email at bandscamps@gmail.com.
And, just be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram at bandscamps_, join our Discord server. We put out new episodes every Tuesday, and we do live streams on the weekend.
Thank you so much. This has been episode 10.
Double dig.
This has been a Grand Rhapsody production. Executive produced by Dan Fisher and Julio Gomez.